Hello, my name is Aubrey Robitzer. I'm the career coach here at DeSales University, and it's my pleasure to kick off our webinar series, the first one being resilience strategies. So before we go into our presentation, we really first need to determine what exactly is resilience and defining that for you. From there, I'm going to be looking at what are some real life tests of resiliency. And from there, we're going to be looking at what exactly is the DeSales University model of resilience, breaking down that model for you, and looking at some resilience strategy implementation processes. So first of all, resilience is, quite simply, the ability to bounce back in the face of adversity, stress, difficulties, insert whatever you want to insert here. Resilience is a behavior that can absolutely be developed. It's not necessarily a personality trait. And what I want to clarify is being resilient doesn't necessarily mean someone isn't going to experience difficulty or stress, but rather it's how you react to those situations and how you end up recovering from those difficult situations. So here are some real life tests of your resiliency. I'm not going to go over each and every one of them, but I'm going to hit on a few of them. So first of all, as a student, you may not receive the grade that you're expecting to get on something, whether it's a test, an exam, a presentation, and it's overcoming the feeling of failure from that difficulty. Or many of us or all of us have relationships. So whether it's a friend relationship, a family relationship, or an intimate partner relationship, and there's a change in that relationship, or there's stress in that relationship, it's how do you handle that and overcome that difficult time? Or for other students of ours who work full-time, who are full-time students and they have families, our adult learners, it's juggling all of that goes into that. So with that being said, we're going to be looking at the DeSales University Resilience Model, and there's 6 components to the DeSales University Resilience Model. The first is perspective, second is optimism, third is growth mindset, fourth is a self-awareness and self-care, fifth is social engagement, and the sixth is the actual implementation process for those. So let's first consider your perspective. There's 2 different kinds of perspective you could be looking at here. There's a hindrance perspective and there's a challenge perspective. Hindrance perspective, let's look at that first. Ways to challenge this hindrance perspective. When difficult situations arise, how do you perceive them in the midst of all of this? Combating this hindrance perspective, the way that looks is resisting the urge to view the situation as something that's completely insurmountable or judging yourself too harshly in the midst of it. It's not blowing things out of proportion, and ultimately it's to stop seeing whatever the situation as is something that's been done to you. But instead, switching your perspective over to what's happened for you, taking that on as a challenge and seeing this stressful, difficult situation as, well, how can I grow from this? How can I learn from this? And being self-reflective in the process of it. So ways to reinforce a challenge perspective include, but are not limited to, realizing that the things that happen, they're temporary. They're not going to last forever. It's just a matter of thinking through, okay, well, this thing has happened to me. Now what? It's not going to last forever. It's temporary. Understanding that change is a part of living, and that unfortunately we can't control every little part of our lives, but what we can do is take steps toward the things that we can control and can maintain. And at the end of the day, when we fail and we fall short of our expectations, of other people's expectations, whatever that looks like, that accepting the feelings that come with that, because it's okay to fail if you're failing in the right direction. And we're all failing in the right direction when we have those days. With that, optimism is absolutely key. You need to be able to learn to be positive. And so many people today will say, oh, I find myself to be so pessimistic during this time. But the good news is you can choose to be optimistic. You choose to respond in a way that is optimistic and positive. I just connected positive and optimistic. So the great news is we choose how we respond to situations. And what I really want to hit on is just avoid the victim mentality, because what that ends up doing is it hinders your growth process. And not only that, it weakens your resilience. So whenever you have a chance to choose optimism, do it. You will never regret a day by choosing optimism. So the next part of our resilience model here at DeSales University is choosing to put on a growth mindset. So you don't want to necessarily be goal-oriented, but you want to be growth-oriented. So let me give you an example of that. For instance, let's say that for many weeks now, you have been training for a marathon. You've signed up for it. You've been training for weeks and months for it. And sadly, you tear your ACL. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to give up and say, well, I'm never going to run a marathon again. I'm never going to be able to achieve my goal? No, that's not necessarily the case, because you have so many reasons to celebrate that goal, to celebrate the successful steps you took in that process to becoming a marathon runner. So with that being the case, what you can do is say, okay, this ACL tear has this is just a challenge that I need to overcome. So I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to follow what the doctor's instructions are, and I'm going to run that marathon and take those steps in the process to where you want to get to. And it's the celebration of those steps. It's not necessarily the celebration of the goal, which is absolutely important. You should celebrate your goals, but you need to remember to celebrate the steps you take towards those goals that you're making. And in the midst of all this, when you're setting these goals and you have this growth mindset, is resisting the urge to compare yourself to other people, because everybody's career pathway, everyone's growth is going to look different from everyone else's. So resist the urge to compare yourself to other people. Your self-awareness. You may be asking yourself, Aubrey, why does it matter about self-awareness? Why do these things matter? And the reason it does is when you think about resilience in your perspective and optimism and all of these different components of it, it's so important because there's a lot of introspection that needs to take place when you think about resiliency. And so what I want to break down for you are core values and beliefs. And first of all, we're going to be going over your beliefs. So a belief is an idea that's something that somebody holds to be true. And it's something that someone's willing to defend. So let me provide another example. An example of this would be, for me personally, I believe that crunchy peanut butter is better than creamy peanut butter. And it's nothing deep or philosophical, but it's a belief that I hold. And someone can tell me otherwise, but I'll still believe that crunchy peanut butter is better than creamy peanut butter because that's what I believe in my core. It's a fundamental belief that I hold. So ask yourself, it doesn't have to be necessarily something as funny or mundane as peanut butter. It could be something much more in-depth and personal to yourself. And if you haven't asked yourself those questions of what do I value most, what is at my core, I would highly recommend you check out our My Plan app. Or not app, but the program. It's very, very helpful if you haven't begun to ask yourself those questions. And if you have questions on that resource, please contact the Career Development Center. We would be more than willing to assist you with that plan. All of us love that. All of us love that program. So also, we're not just talking about self-awareness, but we're also talking about self-care. So when these difficulties arise and your resilience is being tested and you have stress and you have anxiety and you have things you can't control, what are some of the things you can control is your self-care. So what are some of the things that are on your self-care checklist? Do you have one? Some of the ones that would be on my checklist could be pleasure reading, going outside for a walk, even if it's only around your house, playing a video game, making your favorite meal. The list goes on. Another part and another strategy of our resilience model here at DeSales University is actively seeking social engagement and support. Friends, you need to be surrounding yourself with people who love you, who know you, and who support you in the midst of this. And I know it's so difficult to get that face-to-face interaction now more than ever. But we have Zoom and we have webinars and we have FaceTime. All of these resources that we have, we need to maximize the use of these items and technologies. They're so very important. So I would challenge you, connect with your peers in the classroom, connect with people in your same major, but not only that, think outside the box, connect with people who you wouldn't necessarily go out of your way to connect with now more than ever, to gain different perspectives and thought processes. Because when you're talking about difficulties with other people and that you're coping through, talking about it doesn't always make them go away, but to know that other people are listening to you and that they're in your corner can make a huge difference in not only your life personally as you think through these difficult times, but you're also being a blessing to other people. And that's often something that we forget in the midst of all of this, that when we're struggling, we can end up being a blessing to other people by bringing them into what's going on with us in our lives. So when you discuss these situations, these difficulties with other people, you're able to get insight that you yourself may not have been able to think of if you hadn't shared it with them in the first place. So friends, seek social engagement. Now, I know this is going to look a little different at this point in time of where you can get involved in and what you're going to be able to do, but I would encourage you to look at this list. It's not exhaustive. So getting involved on campus, even if it's through your online engagement. Have you ever looked into nonprofit or volunteer work? Getting involved with your friends and seeking to support them in their own personal growth. There are so many ways to get engaged socially, even online, now more than ever. It is never too late to get socially engaged. So the question now is, Aubrey, we have all these strategies. There's so much going on. How do I actually implement this? And so here are just a few items and a few ways that you can be implementing some of the strategies we were mentioning earlier. So if you don't know what DeSales University's Resilience Self-Evaluation is, please contact the Career Development Center. We would love to talk with you more about that and get that into your hands. Utilizing mindfulness apps. You can go onto your phone's app store and look up mindfulness apps. There are tons of them. So look into them. It's a way to calm yourself down. It's a way to relax. Some of them can take as less as a minute to complete a mindfulness application. Very easy to do, and you won't regret doing it. I mentioned before creating a self-care checklist. Paying attention to your own needs and feelings. This is a time where it's important to engage in them now. So reach out to your friends, reach out to your colleagues, reach out to your staff at your college or university. It's so very important at this time. And now, since many of us are so much inside, I would really encourage anybody to exercise, even if it's 5 minutes. Like I mentioned earlier, go outside your house or apartment building. Walk around if you're able to, or walk around your apartment or your house inside if you want to do that. The possibilities are endless in the way that you choose to step up and take the steps necessary in your own personal health and growth. So, as we look at resilience strategies now and moving forward, the question is, what does resiliency look like in my current career situation? And I don't know what that situation looks like for you. I don't know your story. I'd love it if you contact me and tell me more about it, because I'd love to be able to listen and potentially coach you through it, whatever your need is there. But we'll talk about it generally for this time. So during this current time, in the situation you find yourself in, you can be exploring other majors and careers. You can be looking into the job search, internship search, and externship search. That's going to be looking different moving forward into the future, but that's why you also have our staff here at the Career Development Center to support you in that. So please utilize the resources of your staff in our office. Right now, it's maximizing your networking and utilizing LinkedIn. Once again, you want to know tangible steps towards that? Let us know in the office and we'll coach you through that. You can be updating your professional documents, and those documents can include, but they're not limited to, your resume, your cover letter, personal statements as you prepare for graduate school, or your CV. And right now, what you can be doing is, let's say you are a little bit more self-aware and you recognize there's areas of weakness in your life that you can see yourself growing in. look at some classes you could be taking online. There's a lot of colleges and universities who are offering courses online for free at this time. So look into some of those courses. That doesn't interest you? Look into different articles online you can be doing. I promote self-education all day. Areas of known weaknesses, grow and learn and ask questions. Also, ask your friends and your family, your colleagues, your professors in your life. Ask them, how can I be growing in this area? Do you have any suggestions on that? Is making those connections with those people, and that also fulfills social engagement. So thinking about different ways you can be hitting all those different strategies all at once. I love thinking about multiple ways to be able to do that. So this concludes our webinar for today on resilience strategies through DeSales University's Career Development Center. Once again, my name is Aubrey Robitzer. I'm the career coach here. Please connect with us. You can find our social media handles down below here through Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook. The three lovely ladies in my office, Miss Kristen Eicholtz, Melanie Vallone, and Kathy Kraus, we would love nothing more than to connect with you and encourage you and promote you in your career and professional development here at DeSales University. It's been my pleasure to walk you through this presentation, and I absolutely look forward to chatting with you all soon. Please connect with us, and I hope you have a very safe, healthy rest of your day.